Your ancestors survived ice ages, predators, and famines. But they couldn't do one thing you do every single day. They couldn't feel an emotion and actually know what it was. Not because they were weak, because for 300,000 years, the human brain never needed to. Emotions weren't processed, they weren't named, they weren't understood. They were just survived. And here's what nobody tells you. That same brain is sitting inside your skull right now. Unchanged, unpatched, still running 300,000-year-old code. You didn't just inherit their eyes and their bones. You inherited their emotional dumbness. All of it. For 300,000 years, the human brain had exactly one job. Not love, not connection, not understanding what you feel or why you feel it. Survival. Here's what that actually looked like. Ancient humans had the same brain size as you, same neurons, same hardware. A Homo sapiens from 200,000 years ago, cleaned up and dressed, would walk through a modern city and nobody would look twice. Same skull, completely different interior life. Because inside that brain, the prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for pausing before reacting, for processing emotion, for saying, wait, let me think about how I feel, was essentially switched off. Not broken, not underdeveloped, just completely unnecessary. Emotions back then weren't a superpower. They were a kill switch. African savanna, 100,000 years ago. You and your tribesmen are hunting. A lion appears. Your tribesman freezes, overwhelmed, feeling the fear, processing it. You run. One of you survives, one of you doesn't. Evolution didn't reward emotional intelligence, it eliminated it. Psychologists call this state alexithymia, the inability to identify, name, or describe your own emotions. Today, it's a clinical disorder. Therapists treat it. Researchers study its link to depression, failed relationships, addiction. But 100,000 years ago, it was the factory setting for every human alive. Ancient humans didn't feel fear and then decide to run. They just ran. They didn't process grief when someone died. They moved camp and kept going. They didn't lie awake wondering why they felt hollow or disconnected or empty for no reason. They felt nothing, named nothing, and survived. Eat, hunt, reproduce, repeat. That was the complete emotional life of your ancestors. And for 300,000 years, it worked perfectly. Now here's where everything gets uncomfortable. For decades, scientists thought they had proof that ancient humans were emotionally rich, emotionally aware, maybe even emotionally wise. The evidence? Neanderthal burials. 40,000 years ago, Neanderthals buried their dead, with flowers, with tools, with food placed carefully beside the body. Scientists called it the first proof of grief, of ritual, of love that outlasted death itself. Every documentary repeated it, every textbook confirmed it. Ancient humans felt, ancient humans mourned, ancient humans loved. Then newer research arrived, and it destroyed that entire story. Those burials had nothing to do with love. They were logistics. Bodies left exposed attracted predators to the campsite. Burying them was camp management. The flowers found in Shanidar Cave? Pollen analysis showed they were carried in by burrowing rodents, not placed by grieving hands. What every human being wanted to believe was tenderness, was pest control. What looked like mourning was survival math. And this pattern repeats everywhere in the fossil record. A mother protecting her child wasn't driven by love the way you experience love. She was running a biological program older than language. Keep this offspring alive, or your genes end here. A man loyal to his tribe wasn't driven by friendship. He was running one unconscious calculation. Alone, I die. Together, I survive. The emotions existed, but they weren't felt. They weren't named. They weren't examined. They were just forces, invisible currents moving people the way wind moves a field of grass. The grass doesn't know it's bending. It just bends. Then, approximately 50,000 years ago, something happened that scientists still don't fully understand. Human behavior didn't just evolve, it detonated. Cave paintings appeared overnight in evolutionary time. Jewelry, bone flutes playing notes we can still recreate today. Trade networks spanning hundreds of miles. Burial rituals that were, this time, unmistakably intentional. Anthropologists call this the cognitive revolution. But inside that explosion, quieter than the art, quieter than the tools, was something that would change what it meant to be human forever. For the first time in 300,000 years, humans started describing what was happening inside them. Not screaming in pain, not grunting in fear, translating internal experience into words and giving those words to another person. I feel heavy. Something in my chest won't move. I miss the one we lost. No framework, no tradition, no language for what they were even doing. They were inventing emotional vocabulary in real time, and they had no idea what they had just discovered. Because the moment you name an emotion, something neurologically extraordinary happens. The amygdala, your brain's threat alarm, immediately quiets. The prefrontal cortex activates. The body exhales. Scientists call this affect labeling. You call it talking about how you feel. But for ancient humans finding this for the first time, after 300,000 years of just being dragged through every feeling with no anchor, no language, no way to hold it, it must have felt like suddenly being handed a map. In the dark, for the very first time. Suddenly, the grief wasn't just a force moving them forward. They could stop, sit with it, survive it differently. Suddenly, the fear wasn't just a signal to flee. They could feel it, name it, and choose. Emotions became something you could look at, not just something that happened to you. Here's where ancient history becomes your problem. The cognitive revolution, the one that gave humans emotional language, happened 50,000 years ago. Your brain is the product of 300,000 years of emotional dumbness, and only 50,000 years of learning to do something different. You are 6 times more ancient human than evolved one. And you feel it every single day. That thing you do, where you know you're overreacting, you can see it happening and you physically cannot stop it? Ancient human. That thing where someone hurts you deeply and the only words that come out are, "I'm fine." Ancient human. That feeling of being hollow, restless, completely disconnected, even when nothing is objectively wrong? 300,000 years of factory settings. Still active, never updated. Your nervous system was built for lions, not performance reviews, not being left on red, not a comment on a post that sits in your chest at midnight like a splinter. But when the lions disappeared, your brain didn't retire the threat system. It just reassigned it. That Sunday night dread? Your amygdala has filed it under predator incoming. That tightness before a difficult conversation? To your nervous system, social danger and physical danger are identical signals. That voice that says, "Don't relax, don't trust, something is always about to go wrong"? That is 300,000 years of survival code, still running, on hardware that has never once been updated. Ancient humans were emotionally dumb because the world demanded it. Feeling too much got you eaten. But you live in a completely different world now, and you are still running their software. The lion is gone. Your brain never got the memo. For 300,000 years, your ancestors survived by feeling nothing, naming nothing, sitting with nothing. You inherited that brain completely, but you also inherited something they never had: the ability to stop, to name it, to look at what's happening inside you instead of just being moved by it like wind moves grass. Ancient humans were emotionally dumb because evolution gave them no other option. You have the option. Every single time you choose to name what you feel instead of just surviving it, you are doing something your ancestors couldn't do for 300,000 years. That's not weakness. That's the most human thing you can do.